Hey guys, it's Jeff from Pressure Luck, or maybe I should say Shalom, because today we are going to be making a classic Jewish pasta dish. There aren't too many like classic traditional Jewish pasta dishes out there, but this might well be the Rolls Royce of them. And what are they? Well, they are called Kasha Varnishkes. Yes, Kasha Varnishkes. And what Kasha Varnishkes are, it's an Ashkenazi Jewish recipe, which is just been on the map forever. It's been passed down from generations to generations. I had it as a kid growing up. And what is it though? Well, the kasha are buckwheat groats that are gonna be delicious, and they're fabulous, and they're gluten-free, although the pasta isn't necessarily gluten-free unless you use gluten-free pasta. That being said, the pasta is going to be bow ties, or farfalle. You can also use mini bow ties, which is also known as farfalle. Again, if you want to keep it fully gluten-free, you'd have to find a gluten-free version of that pasta and cook according to the box's instructions. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have a dish that is going to be beyond delicious, because the flavor foundation for this dish is some schmaltz and onions that we're gonna caramelize in there, maybe some mushrooms, and then we're gonna add the kasha and a little bit of egg and some garlic, and then just make everything like absorb and create this amazingness, and then toss some bow ties in there. So forget me just yapping right now. Let's go right to the stove top. We're not gonna do this one in the Instant Pot because believe me, I tried, it becomes mush, and we're gonna make the most amazing Kasha Varnishkes. And I'm so excited to introduce this dish to your kitchen if you've never had it before. It's truly something. Either you're gonna love it because you're really into the buckwheat situation, or it might not be your style. But I'm telling you, either way, give it a shot because it truly is loaded with flavor, at least the way that I do it. So good. Let's make a miracle happen with no miracle required. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add an 8-quart soup pot to a stovetop. In this case, I'm using a little induction module. And from there, I want to fill up my pot halfway with water. So 4 quarts of water. Okay, and now I want to bring it to high heat so it comes to a rolling boil. But because I have limited space for my camera, I'm going to move this to the stovetop and let this boil there. And then place a 4.5 to 5 quart saute pan on this burner right now. This is what we're going to focus on right now. And I want to bring this to medium-high heat. Now what I want to do is add in either some schmaltz, which is rendered chicken fat, which I have here. I have a recipe for that. Or you can also find it sometimes in the supermarket. This one's actually some duck fat that's rendered, which also will work fine. Or you can just use vegetable oil. Whatever the case, I want to use 6 tablespoons of it combined. You could do some of each. You could do half schmaltz, half oil, whatever you want. And once our schmaltz or rendered fat or vegetable oil is nice and heated, I then want to add in 4 yellow onions, which I've just roughly chopped or diced up. And I know 4 sounds like a lot, but onions cook down to nothing, and they create the foundation for the flavor of this dish. Do not skip them. They're so important here. Onions are a huge thing in all Jewish cooking, basically, between Kasha Varnishkes and matzo brai. It has a presence. Kind of also a big thing in all cooking. Okay, so we're going to saute these onions in the schmaltzy oil for about 20 to 30 minutes until it caramelizes. We really want them to become like nice and syrupy and rich in flavor. Like I said, that's the foundation for the flavor of the recipe. And this is about 5 minutes of sauteing my onions in the pan. And you can see they're getting a little bit brown, but this is nowhere near as browned and caramelized as they need to get. They're not caramelized yet. Again, this is going to take really between 20 to 30 minutes. So you're going to have some patience here, but this is easy. It's kind of almost like when you do chopped liver. It's very similar when you start that out. It's all about the onion, all right, with the chopped liver. And now we're about 15 minutes into it, and you can see that our onions have browned a little bit more. They're not quite there yet. Another tip here is make sure that you are not just letting your onions just sit here and walk away the entire time. If you do that, only one side's going to cook, and they might begin to get like kind of burnt, which is fine if you get a little bit of a char on your onions. We want that. You see how that is? That's good. But make sure you stir every so often, like every 2 or so minutes. Give it a nice stir around. Make sure all the onions are getting nice and caramelized evenly. If somebody could invent like a rapid onion caramelizer, I would be so on board with that. Maybe I should look into that. How would you even do that? It's not like you can pressure cook it and make it caramelized. It's just one of those things that just takes a little extra time, but it's well worth it in the end. You'd caramelize your French onion soup. You know, sometimes on your burger you get caramelized onions. It all depends. You could do it in a million things. In a jam, caramelized onion jam that you can use on a charcuterie. So this process here is universal, and I especially love doing it in some schmaltz. That being said, if you want to keep this dish vegetarian, you'd use vegetable oil here. Alright, let's caramelize it a little longer and we'll come back. Okay, we've been going for 20 minutes now, and this is looking really good. Now, an optional thing I love to add to my Kasha Varnishkes, and I know many others would agree, would be some mushrooms, and I'm adding in 8 ounces of some sliced baby bella, or you can use white mushrooms. This is optional, you do not need to add them. And then I'm going to saute the mushrooms into the onions for about another 5 minutes until the mushrooms become browned and release their juices and nice and soft. Mushrooms really give what they take because they might absorb everything around them, being the butter or oils or broth or whatever, and then they give everything back with their delicious juices. So they might seem greedy at first, but they're actually very generous. Okay, and once we're looking like this, we are good. What I want to do now is I want to transfer all my vegetables, onion and mushrooms, with a slotted spoon here, and just put it in a bowl, and we're going to set this aside. Okay, and we are looking good. You see this? This is how this should look. Just like this. We have that delicious caramelized situation going on with the onion. It's getting syrupy. The mushrooms are perfectly tender and like butter. Everything's great. Okay, set that aside. It's okay if you have some stragglers left in there. Alright, we're going to come back to the pan in just a second. Now I want to take a regular sized mixing bowl here. This is fine. And to that I want to add in 1 cup of kasha, which are basically roasted buckwheat groats. It's also gluten-free. Wolf's is like the brand in my opinion for Kasha Varnishkes, and you want to use the medium granulation size. Try to find the medium granulation size. You can usually find this like in the international section of your market, usually in the Jewish section by like the matzo ball mix or gefilte fish, or you can find it like near like all the other grains. It depends where they put it. Just ask if you can't find it. They likely have this. And it looks like this. Again, you want medium granulation. Almost looks like kitty litter, but let's just not say that out loud, okay? I'm going to add that to the bowl, along with 1 large egg. And by the way, I find that cracking an egg in a little ramekin before adding it is good, because if you just crack it in there and shell gets in, that's going to be annoying. This way, if shell gets in, you can just fish it out before you dump it. Also, 2 tablespoons or 6 cloves of crushed or minced garlic. And then I'm going to just mix all that up together in the bowl here. So the kasha and the egg and the garlic all get combined with each other into kind of almost like a paste. That's looking good. All right, perfect. Now we're going to go back to the pan. Okay, and keeping our pan on medium-high heat, I now want to add that egg and garlic coated kasha to the pan. And then kind of just cook it for about 3 to 5 minutes until it becomes toasted and begins to break up and crumble a bit. Basically just toasting our kasha here. And as that kasha begins to like toast after a minute or two, you're going to really get that aroma of what Kasha Varnishkes basically smells like. Okay, and now this is looking perfect after about 3 to 5 minutes of toasting our kasha. Now I want to add in 2.5 cups of a broth of your choice. And I'm going to season it up with 2 teaspoons of seasoned salt and half a teaspoon of white pepper. You don't have to add the white pepper if you don't want. It's a little zesty, but I really love it for this dish. I'm going to also now return in all of my reserved onions and mushrooms if you added that. That whole mixture goes back in there. And I'm going to stir this up real well so everything is nice and combined. And now I'm going to reduce the heat to medium-low, and I'm going to cover my pan for about 10 minutes while I'm now going to cook my pasta. And I'm going to salt my pasta water with a tablespoon of salt. And for Kasha Varnishkes, you have to use, there's no other kind of pasta in my opinion, than farfalle, also known as bow ties. You can use the regular size, or you can use the mini ones, also known as farfalle. We're going to add a whole box or a pound of it. And we're going to cook this according to instructions for al dente, which is going to be between 11 to 12 minutes. And you'll notice, because this is between 11 or 12 minutes, it's basically going to be timed with when that kasha is fully done absorbing all the broth, and it's going to become its amazingness. Alright, and now my pasta's done cooking. You can always taste it to make sure, and I am going to strain it in the sink with my trusty colander. And now my kasha will be nice and done. Look at that, perfectly absorbed. If it isn't done for whatever reason, just let it keep going. And if it's done prior to the pasta cooking, just turn the heat off, okay? Now all I want to do is just marry everything together. Take all those wonderful bow ties or farfalle and add it into the pan. This is why I use a saute pan. We have these high walls that are going to make tossing everything together, because the high walls of the pan really contains everything to the pan when mixing. And there we have it, my friends. These beautiful and delicious Jewish style Kasha Varnishkes. Is there any other style? Let's try it out. Okay, my friends, and here it is, my Kasha Varnishkes. Here we go. They're loaded with buckwheat or kasha and veggie. It's gonna be so good. Here we go. Now, this brings me back. I mean, come on, this is childhood for me, and I love this stuff. This is definitely one of those things, either you're gonna like it or you're not gonna really be into it, but the way I do mine, and with the way I season it up a little bit in there, the flavors are truly so comforting and delicious, and it's really kind of a guilt-free dish. It's not like a creamy, rich sauce, even though I love those, but I gotta get my wonderful, non-Jewish partner Richard up here to try it out. Richard, come on down.
Hello.
Richard, have you had Kasha Varnishkes before?
Yes.
You have? All right, well.
With you.
Okay, well, give these a try. Do you have a fork?
Well, these remind me of when I was back home in the South eating Kasha Varnishkes.
Who does that in the South? Maybe in Boca.
Super good.
Yeah.
The kasha is the buckwheat.
Yeah.
It's very good. I love mushroom, anything mushroomy.
Yep. I think the mushrooms are a really nice touch. You know, mushrooms are also...
Onions.
Yeah, the onions are a must. The onions are what are creating all that flavor foundation when you caramelize them in the beginning. I'm telling you, it's everything, just like for a chopped liver. It's like a light tasting, basically Jewish pasta. And it's completely vegetarian. Of course, you can't use schmaltz for it to be vegetarian. You have to use vegetable oil. But, there's just so much delicious flavor going on in this, right? I think it's a delicious dish. If you, actually the white pepper is known to be a zestier, spicier pepper than a black pepper. I'm only using a half a teaspoon in here, and honestly, it's you can barely tell it's in there. So I really do suggest adding it if possible. If not, you can use black pepper or just omit the pepper completely, but there's no spice to this really, right? It's not spicy.
No, it's not spicy.
No.
It's very good.
I'm making this like it's still winter, it's like early March or mid-March, and I am like sweating in here because I had no AC on. I didn't think I'd be needing it, and I'm like having everything going on in the kitchen. It's just a small little space, so pardon me if I'm schwitzing. Well, might as well throw out some more Jewish vocabulary your way while we're making a Jewish dish. So you enjoy it.
The goy enjoy.
Oh, well, look at you! He's been around me very, very long if he likes to rhyme. Enjoy by the goyim.
Enjoy him by the goyim.
Right, the goyim enjoy.
The goyim enjoy him.
The goyim enjoy them. Oh, now that is clever. Yeah. We have to trademark that one.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you for trying it, and you can go back and live your life now and do your work. I know that I bothered you, so thank you. I hope it was worth it, the interruption, your lunch.
Food, I'm hungry.
Richard was like, what am I gonna get for lunch today? Should I get a sandwich? And I was like, just eat the Kasha Varnishkes I'm making. He's like, oh, all right. There you go. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. If you enjoy these recipes, check out PressureLuckCooking.com because so many recipes live there. Many for the Instant Pot, which, by the way, you wouldn't do this in because the kasha will become nothing but mush. Trust me, I've tried. There's really no way to make Kasha Varnishkes in the Instant Pot because if there was, I definitely would have given you a recipe for it. But I also have other recipes that are not just for the Instant Pot. And speaking of the Instant Pot, I've written 4 best-selling cookbooks for it. Every single one of my books has gorgeous color step-by-step photos for every recipe showing you what you should be doing, as well as a final shot of what every recipe should look like. I love that this was like fate that I just turned to my Grandma Lil's unstuffed cabbage stew in the book, because that's another Jewish dish there, inspired by my grandma's stuffed cabbage. I made it a stew. It's beshert, as we would say. That means it's like meant to be, that I would open that. I love you, Grandma. And I also have a new book coming out that's not Instant Pot called Pastabilities, and guess what? This recipe is going to be in it because it's really just one pot to boil the pasta, one pan to make the sauce, or in this case the kasha, which is the sauce, and presto, you mix them together in the pan in the end and you got this amazing pasta dish. Of course I have to give you a Jewish pasta in that dish. There's also going to be Kugel, aka noodle pudding in it, a nice sweet one. Go to facebook.com/PressureLuckCooking. Make sure you like that page. I have so much content there. I'm always posting there. I do love the Facebook. And at PressureLuckCooking on YouTube, subscribe to me there. And on Instagram, definitely follow, like, all that stuff. Thank you so much again for watching, my friends. And the next time you want to make a dish that's going to satisfy everyone from Sasha to Veronica, well, make my fantastic and delicious Kasha Varnishkes. That was a stretch, but I mean, we did the best we can with the name rhyming on there. It's delicious. Enjoy.